There are AI researchers that misunderstand their own systems in a fundamental way. Wow. LLMs are a cheat. The real goal in AI is, that's right, when ChatGPT is giving you answers, it's simply, what about mistakes? Well, here it gets interesting. You're here. You're in for a real treat today. Artificial intelligence, AI. Is there an explanation for how it actually works that is both interesting and fairly easy to follow? When we are done here, even my fellow geeks will have a new perspective for understanding AI. AI has taken off so fast that some people are freaking out over how smart it is. Even some researchers have raised flags. The main breakthrough method behind today's AI is called the Large Language Model, or LLM. LLM is what's behind ChatGPT and essentially all of the derivatives and competitors making news in AI today, like chatbots from Google, Microsoft, and so on. LLMs produce answers to questions that can appear profound and surprising even to their own developers. There have even been claims of possible sentience or the potential to pass the Turing test. Nonsense! To make any such claims, these people must fundamentally misunderstand how their own systems work, which raises an issue. There are AI researchers that misunderstand their own systems in a fundamental way. Wow. Now wait, I hear some of you thinking. What makes you so sure that they are wrong? Who are you to know better? Aha, great question. My name is Peter Naleszkiewicz. I've been doing AI research for much of my life. I am about to prove to you that what I say is true. Large language models technique used by today's news-breaking AI systems is not the ultimate AI goal. LLMs are a cheat. The real goal in AI is artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Put simply, the AI we really want is one that actually understands what it's talking about, including ethics and morality. Useful AIs shouldn't lie, cheat or steal, or kill us in the battlefield, or in our self-driving car. Let me be crystal clear. Current LLM AIs are not capable of general intelligence, period. There is a danger in the current trend of AI, but it's not because such systems are sentient or can carry a real conversation. They can do neither. Now let's get to where you can understand why. To explain, I'm going to tell you a story. Since it contains a hidden lesson that gently unfolds, it's an allegory. So right now, I hope you'll enjoy the allegory of the French class homework. Back in 1988, Susan was a college student taking second-year French with a group of 4 friends. Together, they formed a study group that met twice a week to do homework. Susan also had a best friend and roommate named Jill, who did not know or take French. One Thursday, Susan stayed up much of the night talking to family about an emergency. Her mother had taken seriously ill and was in the hospital. The next day, Susan was preparing to go home for a few days, but before she left, she had a curious talk with Jill. Susan said a bit desperately, "Jill, I need your help with something, and it's going to seem unfair, but you are the only person I trust and I'm out of time. My French homework is due Monday morning, and I literally have no time to work on it. It doesn't matter what grade I get. It's only homework. I just need to turn it in to avoid an incomplete. It just has to look like I tried. And I need you to do it for me." "What? Do your French homework?" complained Jill. "I don't know any French at all. I want to help, but seriously?" Susan replied calmingly, "Hey, I just came back from my meeting with the study group. They all finished early and gave me copies of their answers. There's just 20 questions. Each needs an answer of 2 or 3 sentences in French. Yeah, everyone was a bit worried when I told them about my situation, but I made them a promise. None of my answers will be exact copies of theirs. All you have to do is make up new answers that do not completely plagiarize anyone else's. Please, you are so smart. I'm sure you can find a way. And remember, it's okay if my grade is bad. It just needs to look like I gave it a real go. Without waiting for an answer, Susan handed Jill the 4 finished homework samples, gave her a hug, and called back as she ran out the door. You were saving my life. Thank you. I'll be back Monday right before French class starts. Love you. Jill was exasperated and worried. Without thinking too much more about it, she decided to try to help her friend. So she got right to work. She scanned the French textbook for basic keywords and a few language rules. This helped her identify the nature of some of the questions. Who, what, where, why, and how many, that sort of thing. Usually. She also tried to pick up a little about French sentence structure, which struck her as similar to, but not exactly the same as English. Then she went through each question and compared the 4 answers given by Susan's study group. Sometimes there was very clear common phrasing and verb usage. Most other times the 4 answers looked completely different, or at least largely so. As she worked through each question, Jill started to develop tricks. If 2 or more answers used the same phrase or words, she'd make sure her new answer included those. Jill started to recognize roughly when something was a verb or a noun or an adjective, so she randomly picked words or phrases from each sample when she had no other clues. In the end, Jill was rather proud of herself. Without actually knowing any of the meaning or context of the 20 questions, she found reasonable ways to construct 20 answers from the 4 sample texts. And yet, she was quite sure the teacher would not suspect any plagiarism, as none of her answers were exactly the same as anyone else's. It was only the quality of the work that worried her. Would this homework get Susan a failing grade? Now we cut to a week later with Susan coming back from French class, waving her graded homework at Jill with a big smile. Jill, you got me a D- on the homework. You did it. I can't believe it. You're amazing. And she hugged her friend closely with sincere gratitude. I didn't get an incomplete. My other grades will make up for this. No problem. Thanks so much. Jill was distracted. Can I see that? Susan handed Jill the heavily marked up homework. Jill read through the teacher's many complaints. Oh, okay. I see. Wow. Of course. Now that Jill learned what kind of mistakes she made, many of them she wouldn't make if she had to do it again. If this became a thing, Jill would learn a few more French keywords and rules to better structure her answers. Put another way, Jill would improve her target answer template, my term, for a summary of the structure and goals of each question. With many iterations, it would be possible to get better grades, C's and even B's and occasionally A's, using this kind of method. Of course, the study group would have to keep feeding her answers without any credit. And that is the end of the allegory of the French class homework. Yes, Jill was implementing a simple form of the large language model methodology. It's that simple. This allegory illustrates LLM function, except for 2 main differences. First, LLMs use large swaths of human-created text as their sample answers, often sourced by a snapshot of the internet or some large subset. That's right. When ChatGPT is giving you answers, it's simply matching up human-created content using various tricks to generate new answers. Just like Jill, LLMs understand neither the questions nor the answers. The second difference is the part that throws most people, even some researchers who work on these systems. It's the part I named the target answer template. In a real LLM, there are actually layers upon layers of subgoals along the lines of Jill's target answer template. You can think of it as a multi-layer sieve that an archaeologist might use dumping dirt looking for artifacts. The top layer is the coarsest mesh that catches the biggest items. The next layer has slightly smaller holes, and so on until you get to the bottom layer that will even catch small objects with a very fine mesh. The LLM actually designs its own multi-layer sieve of interim target answer templates. These come from the AI's training using coded methods. Such AI-generated templates do resemble goals and subgoals of a human mind. Since they emerge from the training data, it can appear to produce emergent intelligence. Using our allegory to illustrate this, Jill used clues about French to decide what kind of question and roughly what kind of answer she should shoot for. At a lower level, she learned to ID a noun versus a verb, so she could place the right kind of words in the template slots. At a higher level, she would look for complete phrases that were commonly used by others, when that sometimes happened. If Jill was a computer, she could keep adding layers up and down to adjust the kind of rules the target answer templates would look for and accept. With so many layers, the answers that come out can appear much more enlightened, even original. However, they are in fact no more profound than the simple example of our allegory, cut into a multitude of finer slices. It's not computer intelligence. It's a simple trick, but exercised with so many layers, the answers can produce awe. Whether it's a one-layer example that's easy to understand, or 10,000 layers, it's still the same basic approach that Jill took. Methods like pattern matching categorize both the question and the kind of answers expected. There are more methods, rules, and tricks that I haven't explained, but that's all they are. With testing, they can tweak how well LLMs work, but fundamentally, they don't even try to understand what they're talking about. They don't have the structure for it. Their sole goal is to make sensible sounding answers drawn from its sample data. They are happy if you aren't mad at the answer. Now let's consider a few key questions using our allegory as a guide. Is an LLM sentient? Ever? Is such an AI having an actual experience for itself? If ChatGPT gives you an answer that talks about its feelings, or depression, or self-introspection, does that indicate some profound self-awareness or consciousness? Here's a side comment before answering that. Don't be so concerned about a truly self-aware AI. I'll clarify my position more in a future video. But the general reason is this. If we want our AI to really know what it's talking about, then it will necessarily need to know something about itself. I promise you that self-awareness is not some sort of threshold problem the way some sci-fi makes it out to be. I'll explain better later, but that concern turns out to be vaporous. Any artificial general intelligence, the AI we should all really want, will need to model itself if it's going to understand anything of the wider world. It's actually a minimum starting point. Self-awareness is a foundation for any general-purpose thinking system that produces no downside. That said, you can be sure the question is moot for large language models. Their design makes them literally clueless, LLMs make no serious attempt to understand anything. They treat dialogue as a pattern matching game. At no point is the AI actually thinking about the content of the answers at all. Zero. To the degree that it sometimes appears to talk about itself, it will only happen when its target answer templates assemble such an answer. Put another way, it talks about itself because the training data suggested that was the way to answer your question. A chatbot can say things that seem profound, deep, introspective, insightful, even useful. It's a shame you can't thank the many source texts written by uncredited human beings that were used as the basis of those answers. There is profundity there, but it comes from people who wrote the source text. What about mistakes? Well, here it gets interesting. If the source material is outdated, immoral, sarcastic, indirect, metaphorical, mismatched, or racist, watch out. Newer versions of chatbots have filters that try to catch both bad answers and bad questions, but they don't really know what they're saying, so they don't catch everything. There is an even worse problem when the AI is unable to correctly match the questions to the answers at all. Again, this is a problem of never really understanding the world. If you poorly or incorrectly identify the question, then the answer might be anything, even nonsense. I hope our allegory helps point out how sometimes Jill could have literally said anything without realizing how bad it was. Usually, chatbots will be useful, sometimes amazing and very helpful, and other times less so. But often enough, they will send you down a really bad path with unknown pitfalls. Therefore, beware of relying on LLM technology for anything that isn't tolerant of a complete fail. My favorite physicists, Feynman and Einstein, both suggested that well-understood science should be explainable to everyone. My deep and sincere thanks to you, friend, for your attention, and see you next time.